I'd like to introduce you to our design team. So, Jose, if you'd like to kick us off, over to you guys.
Hi, everyone.
Hey
I'm Jose.
So we are. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to introduce myself. I'm Jose, and I'm lead designer at West of Maine.
Hi, guys. I'm Sasha, and I'm one of the owners and principal designers at West of Maine. And we're really excited to be here to help you guys create a comfortable and productive space in your home. We are in very different times, but this gives you the opportunity to really make a space where you feel cozy and that you can kind of separate from your day-to-day. And right now, Joe is actually at my house and I am at the cottage. So sometimes you get the opportunity to work in nature, which is also awesome. So let's start off by sharing my screen, and we're going to show you a blog. Go. It kind of walks you through some main principles of creating an efficient and ergonomic workspace. So it is really important when you're working day in and day out on a computer to set yourself up in a way where you're not going to get like further injuries. And, you know, some of you are young and some of you are, not so you might already have some aches and pains in your body, maybe from sports or not actually setting yourself up properly. So here's a couple of tips that will help you feel comfortable throughout the workday and allow you to last a little bit longer. So you want to have your elbows at a 90 degree, which means that you need to have your desk height and your chair height right. You want your knees to also be at a 90 degree too, and you want to have your feet flat on the floor. The height of your computer is also important. So sometimes we're working on laptops, and we're going to show you a link that has a laptop stand, but there's also the ability, if you don't want to invest into a laptop stand, the ease of being able to like stack some books or some binders and placing your laptop on top of them. You can also get another monitor. And the monitor, if you put it at the right height, that means that you're not going to be straining your neck by leaning down to look at your screen all day. So we've listed out some of these points that I just talked about here. And here's a link that we're going to have in the document to a stand. So it basically goes to Amazon. It's just a simple stand. And it helps you elevate your computer. It's always great too to be able to get a separate keyboard when you're working on a laptop and a separate mouse. And there's ergonomic mouses out there too that just support your hand better so you're not like cramping your wrist. You think at the beginning you're going to be fine, and then after an entire semester, that's when you start feeling those aches, especially in exam time. So now we go down into the make your space your own. And there's been a lot of research between the correlation of your workspace and your mental health. If you have a space that you really enjoy going to day in and day out, you're going to feel a lot better about doing your work. You're going to feel a lot more relaxed in your day. So here's a couple steps that are going to help you achieve that. First step is always to measure your space. A lot of people go out shopping and they have no idea the scale proportion that they need. So we start all of our projects by measuring the spaces, and we've got a link right here to how to measure just the key kind of measurements that you're going to want to be looking for. So overall room measurements, where your window is, the size of your window, the size of your door is really important. Making sure that the furniture that you're purchasing can actually make it through the space that you intend to put it in is very key. Also the heights of the spaces. So if you want to put like a nice light in, you want to make sure that you have the ceiling height that you're going to be able to do the functional needs that you have in the room with the pieces that you're choosing. So that's kind of the first step to get yourself organized and have efficient shopping. Studies are also pretty conclusive, and I think everybody knows this. You can feel it when you're outside and when you get sunlight. Natural light is so key in creating a space that's comfortable and it's not as straining on your eyes. So if you could be beside a window, if you have natural light coming in, your mood is just going to be better throughout the day. So try and place yourself in areas of the home where you're going to have some natural light coming in. It's also important, because sometimes we are working into the night, we don't have that natural light, to have your key lighting. So that's like task lighting. That's your general lighting. So whether that's like a flush mount or track lights or pot lights above, you want to have those as your general lighting. And then you also want to have a task light. So it gives you a bit more of a focused light on your work surface. And we'll show you a couple examples of that through some inspiration pictures. And Jose is also going to show you throughout our space. So cluttered desk equals cluttered mind. This is pretty true. If you have a messy room, I know we think we know where everything is, but having a clean work surface to work from does allow you to just kind of start your day fresh, to clear your mind out, to have ideas. It doesn't feel so cluttered. So making sure that you have some storage, even if it's just a box or like a basket, if you're lucky and you have like a shelving unit and you can put some stuff in there, it's just clearing out that mess on a daily routine to be like, I'm closing off my day or I'm starting my day with a clean workspace can really make a difference to your productivity. And then we are huge fans. Well, you can see all of the trees behind me, but we're huge fans of nature. We always try and bring as much nature into our office spaces, into our homes as possible. So, sometimes that means just a little plant, and it's nice to take care of things too and have that routine of watering them. And sometimes it's some clippings from trees. If you're going on a walk and you're near, a nice pathway and there's some beautiful trees, you take a couple branches off of them and you can put them into a nice vase and you've got some fresh flowers. So it's very peaceful. It's bringing the inside, it's bringing the outdoors in, and it's creating this tranquility in your home. The next thing is privacy. So some of you probably have kids. Some of you probably may be living at home. There's other people around and you need those quiet spaces to be able to concentrate. Well, one way to get that is some noise canceling headphones. And I do definitely say that those are worth their while because it just kind of creates you into a zone. Plus you can listen to some good music. But another way to get that is either, you have a closed room that you can use. We're going to show you some dividers too that really work well in terms of sectioning off a space, creating a little office space where you've got like an open concept. And that really helps kind of like focus your brain. You don't see distracting like people or whatnot around you, and it just helps you focus. It's also something that you can fold back and then really open up your space afterwards too. So you can create that like cozy office while you need it, but then you can open up to when you're entertaining or doing other things. It's also really important to keep yourself inspired. Making goals, setting goals for yourself, objectives to meet, inspiring whether it's inspirational pictures or quotes around you is also something that uplifts you, kind of resonates with you, and you might be feeling tired and you can, read a quote that really inspires you and it just kind of gives you some perspective. It's nice to have those around. So we love having like pin boards or like we've styled out some pin boards that we're actually going to show you. And those are nice for setting your intentions for the day and just reminding you of your goals and your objectives. So we'll show you here, we've actually linked to the DIY of how to make a nice pin board. And it's pretty simple. You're using, things from Home Depot, and like even it's really nice because it blends into your wall in this one too. You can use different colored paint if you want to create something that's like a little bit more of a contrast. But in our case, and Joe will show you around my office, we've painted it the same color of the wall. So it's nice and calm and tranquil, but this is where you can put, for us as designers, we'll have fabric samples, we'll have different textures, we'll have designs that we love, and then we'll have quotes on it. And it's like creating functional art. So here's the blog on how to make that in the blog that we're sharing with you as well. And you can change these things up too, because you're just pinning it in. So it makes it super, adaptable throughout the year. If you find different things that inspire you, you just keep on changing them, redesign, but not have to spend a lot of money, which is nice. So set the mood too. The type like air freshness. Now people are using all sorts of different diffusers. There's ones that will really like help elevate your mood, freshen the air, make you feel more awake. Some that will help you wind down, make you feel more relaxed, like the lavender scents. And that's really
We'll jump over to Jose. Or Kayla? Oh, there's Jose. I was like, I could show you my living room, but it's probably not great.
It seems that the cottage internet wasn't so great, I guess. But in the meantime, she was almost done. So what I'll do is I'll show you guys around the office because it's a really good example of all the points that we've just mentioned. And it could maybe like spark some ideas for you guys as to how we've used pieces that, well, Sasha used pieces that she already had at home to kind of put together this office just because COVID happened so quickly and we're kind of forced into it, as most of you. So I'll flip around my camera. All right, so here's the office here. So as we said, lots of natural light. And then there's a task lamp here. So typically she would have her screen here, but she's brought that stuff with her here to the cottage. So on the desk here, she would have her laptop stand with her laptop, and then she has another mouse and another keyboard, which makes the whole thing a bit more ergonomic. She has a nice piece of art above, a nice comfortable chair. And one thing that I wanted to mention that I highly suggest you look into is getting a rug for your office space. One, because of noise reduction, it absorbs the sound. So if you're in an empty room, an extra room in your home, or you have roommates and such, this is a good way. And one thing to do is to get a rug with a low pile. So nothing too thick, because if you have a chair that rolls, you'll want to be able to easily roll back and forth on it. And this is just super easy to clean. So that's one tip. And then over here, so one thing I also wanted to mention is that if you're going to be on Zoom with your professors or you know, any seminars and such, you want your backdrop to look professional in some cases. So having what's behind you be nice and clean and nice and tidy can be important in some situations. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, she had mentioned, you know, you could use a dresser for storage just to hide away like the notebooks, the pencils, anything like that, especially if you're doing this out of your bedroom and you need some time off. So you don't want to always be exposed to your schoolwork and all that. So that's a good way to just put it away for you to enjoy your weekend. Here are the pin boards. So they were super easy to make. It's just burlap painted, and she's just leaned them up on her dresser here, but you could bolt them to the wall as well. So this is great for your day planner. You can put a calendar on there. We use it obviously for design purposes, but you could put your notes on there and any schoolwork that you have. There's another lamp here, and then just we don't have some fresh greens, but this is where typically we would, you know, put some fresh flowers just to set the mood. And she does have a live cactus here. So this is Sasha's office, an overview. And another thing that I wanted to talk about is this is the stationary desk, but a lot of you will have probably heard of standing desks. So IKEA actually has a really good one that I have, and it just allows you to raise the desk and work while standing up, which I love. I find it awesome just to get a break from sitting all the time, especially when we're doing that for hours on end. So a sit stand desk, and it's just usually a little lever that allows you to raise it up and down. I will just stop the video for now, and I'll try to share the document that she was.
I can try sharing it again. Sorry,
Oh,
guys.
You're back.
Connection.
Okay.
Yeah. Good job, though. I'm glad you run with it. Tag team. Okay. So I'll try sharing it again because you're on the phone. So
there
I think we
anything,
left off. Yep.
Sasha, was there anything you wanted to add or for me to show?
I think I just wanted to be able to show some of the principles of what we're talking about kind of itemized out here in use. So it's nice to
Okay,
be able to
yeah.
see, the pin boards up, and kind of we change ours on a project basis. So we'll generally start like concepting out a mood for a project. So you might have like it sectioned off for your different classes and have like reminders of what your big reports are, or some inspiration around what you're developing to, depending on what your subject matter is. So it's just knowing that like those pin boards are meant to work with you and adapt to your needs, not just stay static, which is so nice about them, because it's great to have art in a space, but this is kind of like functional, organized art that you're able to take a look at, step back from, and let it evolve. So I definitely have always loved doing pin boards, and making them look a little bit nicer than the standard ones that you get from Staples is always nice too, because it looks more like art in the space. Joe is showing you like I got a nice big window, and that's really relaxing too. We decided to put the desk against the wall and put a piece of art above it, so that we have a nice backdrop to look at. Some people decide to put a piece of art decide to put their desk in front of the window so that they can look out the window, which is nice too. We really wanted to have the space open in the middle, so that I love doing yoga and I often need to like stretch or just even lay down, relax my mind for a few minutes. So having the ability to have a really open space in the middle gave me the space to be able to do some exercises and stretch out. And that what I was getting to here was taking breaks. So it's really important. I think we're probably all guilty of it, of just you get into your work and you're in a flow and you don't want to stop, but being able to like get up, whether that's taking a walk outside, whether that's stretching in your home on a yoga mat, even taking like a kind of quick nap or a meditation, which is, it's nice to have a chair in the space too, that's a little bit more relaxing. It allows you to just clear your mind, and you actually are able to like be more productive from that. We think if we just work and get it done, that's going to be the best way of accomplishing our goals. But I mean, every big like CEO or successful kind of person out there really their testament is to like clearing their mind either through meditation or taking quick naps. So stopping and breaking will make you way more efficient in the long run. It's not a sprint that you're in a marathon, I think, when you go to school. So you need to remember to pace yourself and practice self-care, because at the end of the day, if you just work too much, you don't get the proper sleep, you don't get the proper stretching, you're going to get the pains and you're going to have to take more time off. So self-care is super important when you're creating your workspace. Lighting a candle does that. It just kind of like puts you in a moment, gives you a nice feeling. Greenery does that too. So, and stretching. And there's different kind of stretches that you can do that are pretty easy. And there's like different balls too, or you can like kind of, if you have wall space, work your back out and your like shoulder, your scapula area against a wall. And that will really help you if you're kind of like, if you don't assume the ergonomic positions that we're talking about here, and you like work on your couch or kind of move around your house and work in some positions that are just not where you have the 90 degrees, it's going to be essential for you to stretch it out. So here I'm going to zoom in because the photos are a little bit small here. Oh, I don't know if I can zoom in on Zoom. So basically, if you can see this one here, this is a room divider. This is what we were talking about. You can get them in a number of different places. I mean, some of you, I saw one person in the group chat say that you really loved your wood workshop. So you'd probably be able to make one if you really wanted to. And it basically helps you kind of divide up an open concept, give yourself like a little cozy area, but then it all kind of folds up accordion style so that you are able to use the space differently throughout the day for whatever your needs are. And then if we scroll down, we've shown the key pieces that we've used in the room. And really having a carpet does ground a space. It's cozy for the feet. It warms it up. It also helps with sound absorption too. If you're somebody that's going to have to be on calls, and, listening to classes, it's great to have the headphones, but you want to feel warm in your space. Even having like a throw blanket or something in this space that you can wrap around you and feel a little cozy for longer sessions. We have a couple of layout inspirations. So depending on what your situation is, you might not have a separate room that you can use for your office. You might be like in an open concept. You might have your desk in your room. So here was a way that you could double up your nightstand as your desk. So getting kind of rid of the standard nightstand, putting in a smaller desk there, having a chair that you can bring up to it so that it's useful for when you're in bed and you have your glass of water, but it's also useful for you to be able to use that space in your room as your workstation. And here we were kind of referencing, we love greenery. And so having a vase and, getting a couple of clippings from when you go for a walk of a tree, it's very like architecturally beautiful. And it's something that you can collect around the neighborhood, which is nice. Here we've got a workstation that's in a living room. We started doing this in several designs because a lot of people want those kind of like organization stations on their main floor if they're like kind of watching their kids too. We have our office manager and she's got a 2-year-old. And so, trying to get all the work done at the same time as having like to perform childcare, she needs to have her in her visual sight. So putting a console style table, because that's the same height, like you want to look for about a 30-inch height on a desk. It's the same height as a dining table too, so that you get proper ergonomics. You can put one behind your sofa, and then that way, it's still allowing you the passive circulation. You're in the main space, and you can make it look, stylish when you're not using it, but it does allow you to have that desk within your living space. A little runner rug kind of grounds the situation here. And because this is all open concept, having a basket to be able to throw a couple things in or some boxes beside it as your storage is really useful. In here, this is custom millwork. So we're not all lucky enough to have, a full custom millwork decked out in our home. But if you are, then definitely take advantage of styling it with a few of your favorite things, whether that's your favorite coffee table books, some greenery, some like prized possessions from your travels, a seashell to remember when you were able to travel to. So nice. And then here, instead of the pin board, we wanted to show you another adaptation of being able to have some storage. So these are basically like grid systems, and you have clips that attach to them. So being able to like have your pens and paper off the desk is helpful. A calendar. So kind of creating almost this like gallery wall style of the things that you're going to need. Be present, so the quotes that are meaningful to you. Some people decide to put up a card, that has a quote that they really love, and keeping it simple. And here, this is showing a room divider. So again, you can have more like movable room dividers, not something that's going to be static into the space, but it does help you section off where your office space is going to be, and then you can fold them up. Or if you have a stationary one too, this works really well in terms of dividing up the workstation from the living space. And then in here, we talked about, sit stand desks, being able to have 2 monitors depending on what you're doing too. Making sure that you have a task light that's coming in, a comfortable chair and a throw blanket, cozy rug to warm your feet. These are the elements that are going to really they're the layers that make your space feel comfortable and finished. So it doesn't matter where you get these pieces. They're the staple pieces to make you feel like you've got a relaxing, comfortable, cozy environment that you're going to want to be in. And if you are going to put your desk in front of a window, to make sure that you have blinds there, because depending on if you're doing like Zoom calls or whatnot, that the being backlit like that it can be really good, but depending on where the light is coming from, it can also make you like a dark shadow. So having some like diffused lighting with your blinds can help it not be so like harsh on your eyes if the sun is really coming through. in here, we're showing if you don't have a lot of room kind of for storage, or you want to have your like workspace cleared, then bringing up a side table is really nice to be able to put a cup of coffee, maybe a couple extra kind of textbooks or whatnot that you're using too. You can use the pieces, that you have throughout your home. And that's a nice way of kind of getting an extra surface space to work from. So like pull up that side table that's in your living room and add to your desk space that way. You're not having to purchase anything new, but you are getting more of a workstation. And here's a good example of definitely bringing plants that you get to care for, but having a shelf above your desk does allow you to, lean some art, maybe have a candle up there, have some plants, have some organization too, where you can put some paperwork. So either it's a shelf or a pin board, or, having a storage unit beside it that you can put some of your pieces to. So that kind of brings us to the end of our inspiration. And, we wanted to keep it relatively simple and not bombard you with too much information, because I think that, simple and clarity is kindness. And if you use those main principles, you are going to create a space that's as meaningful to you, that you want to be in, and that you can, feel proud of.
Sasha, that's awesome. I have inspiration from that. There's so many things around my house. I'm like, oh, I can use that. That's great. And I think it is about being practical, right? Lots of the times we just can't go out and buy a bunch of things, but looking around your own home and grabbing items to kind of bring your space to life is really cool. So thanks. We're going to move to the question and answer period. So I'm going to do this two ways. You can either raise your hand, and that's under, if you go to participation or the chat, you can see the raised hand function. I'll call on you and you can just chat directly with the designers. Or if you're a little bit more shy, I totally get it. And you can just put it in the chat and I can read it out for you. So, okay, so we have our first one. So keep going with the questions, guys, and I'll just call on you or read them. How would you say is the best way to separate your workspace from your home and personal life? Is there something to prioritize?
Well, I think a couple of the examples there are if you have an open concept and you're not going to be able to have a room that's dedicated to your office space, like finding a way to create some privacy. So sometimes that's like privacy curtains. It depends on your level of investment and what you also have around the house. But it's nice that you want to be able to like open that up again and have it work into your main living room. So I've seen it where, you have a small apartment and you've got a TV and you end up putting the desk underneath the TV. And that way, when you're not working, it becomes almost like a media stand and it integrates into your house. But when you are working, you technically needed that circulation room from your TV to your coffee table to your couch anyways. So it's not like you're taking away from that. And then you just pull up a dining chair to it. So I think you need to think like, what's the environment that I want when I'm not working? And how do I keep my workstation as decluttered as possible too? Because if you see, your workout all the time, you're just going to be thinking of like, I should be doing it, or like, what did I forget? And listen, it's not a very relaxing environment. So again, like with the baskets or boxes, things that like help disguise your workload, but also look nice into your main living space. So the pin boards are also great for that because it's kind of like functional art, and having greenery, you want that greenery in your natural space anyways. So it's thinking along both lines. Joe, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you covered it all.
I hope that answered your question. But yeah, it's obviously a bit more challenging because you do need that space to be functional. If you're pulling from the rest of your house, you've got to think of, maybe my dining chair is not going to be comfortable to sit in throughout the day. So maybe I need to put like a cushion on top of it. I need to like bring in a blanket to like warm it up if it's all wood. So pulling the comforts, like listening to what your body needs, having the things like at your fingertips as quick resources too. but definitely like main principles, scents, light, greenery. So.
And then another question, which is kind of interesting, is there any specific plants that you could suggest for the workplace?
Depending on your green thumb. So some plants are easier to take care of than others. We love our like larger plants, which is why you could see the cactus in my room, which I mean, they're pretty easy to take care of, but like little succulents, I'm not the best at like plant names, but the plants that are actually showing in this picture right here, Joe, you actually know plant names better, so you can help me
Yeah, a
out here,
little.
but the ones that are like the vines that carry over, I think they do really well. There's
Yeah,
a
so
wandering, I think a wandering.
anything that's like an ivy plant will be like super
Yeah.
easy to take care of, and then they'll like they grow downwards. So if you have like a shelf, it could be really nice to have that grow downwards. I like to have like a jade plant, which you can get pretty much anywhere. I like to get my plants at IKEA, actually. They always have a good selection, and they always last there a long time. So they usually have a jade. You could do an orchid if you like something that blooms. Any like small succulents. So if you don't have a lot of room and you just want a little something on your desk, you can do any type of succulent. Yeah, otherwise you could, if you have the room, you could do something like a ZZ plant, which if you Google that, you'll know what I mean. You've probably seen them before, but those would be like the easy to maintain, smaller scale plants that I would suggest.
Mm-hmm. And it's rewarding to see your plants grow. It's like your little
Yeah.
babies.
And this is a cool question. So there's 3 roommates that live together. They're in all the same classes, and they kind of want to do like an open concept workspace. Any suggestions for that? I know we talked about dividers, but if they're all in the same class and they're all working from the same table, anything that can bring that space to life, but yet independent?
It's like library styles, right? Kind of where you're able to like either I'm not sure how open your space is if you're able to kind of put your desks together or like work at one kind of large communal table. Like, do you have the room for desks, or do you have just the room for a dining table, in which case you're all going to be working there? And then I would say you want to have like your own baskets for your stuff or boxes for your stuff that you could kind of like move over to the side. Even rolling carts, like the kind of storage carts that you can roll in and roll out, are super practical for that. I know parents use those for arts and crafts too. But I would say that you want to have some headphones still, like noise canceling headphones, because even if you're in all the same classes, you're still going to need to do concentrated work. And if you're working in an open concept, kind of take the consideration of if you were like working in a library. There's also room dividers that you can get, space dividers that you can get that actually sit on top of a table. So if you did want to have like a little bit of privacy, so you're not looking at what the other person is doing, it's like a space divider that sits on the table and it creates almost your little cubicle. So depending if you have the room for office, like an office room, then you can kind of like layer the desks in, either along the wall space, or kind of have them back to back in the center and then have your wall space free around you. Or dining table is great. Like people work like that in coffee shops and everything like that. And then layer in, like I always love kind of on the chairs. If you have rolling office chairs, then great. They're generally the most like ergonomic and supportive to your lumbar. But if you're using dining chairs, then like putting a sheepskin on top of it to make it more comfortable. It also looks really stylish too, is a great option.
And do you guys have tips where they can purchase this? I know we talked about IKEA for more affordable items. Is there any other places that you guys shop?
So we do, like, I think with the pin boards, they do get pretty expensive when you try to buy them online, which is why we wanted to give a link to the DIY. So, you know, you're investing your time, but they're not very costly. And the nice thing like is that you can make multiple of them with the supplies, because you're basically getting like 8x4 sheets, and then you're using burlap from like, you know, Michael's. So that's relatively like when you're trying to do something, you're trying to create something stylish without like having to invest so much. The DIY stuff on IKEA too, like spray paint does wonders to an old side table that you don't want to use anymore. You're able to kind of like spray it out, whether that's like in gold or, a nice white and neutralize. That's always a good tip. IKEA is great. IKEA is great for like student stuff. We own a furniture store. It is definitely investment pieces, but we have, all sorts of kind of little accessories, let's say. So whether that be like a candle to bring into the space, we're crystal lovers. We absolutely love all sorts of different crystals, just like the energy, having kind of a natural like hard surface come into the space. And so those are kind of little items that I would say like from our shop would be able to really like contribute to the style of a space. Other than that, I think like using a lot of the pieces that you have from home and kind of with the sheepskin or a nice pillow that you find from like a flea market or something like that can really like create your own eclectic style. We didn't really mention this throughout the presentation, but also having a lot of water, making sure that you drink a lot of water. And I can see in this one, there's a picture of a water bottle here. So like those, water bottles are available wherever, but having, water throughout the day, along with, stretching and whether you need to take like a meditative break or whatnot is really important to like the self-care. So those you can get anywhere. Rugs, Home Sense is great. We sell rugs too. Definitely check out our online shop. There's a number of different pieces there. And if it's, a desk that you're kind of bringing into your living space, just having like a runner there to ground the space can be really nice too. And then Amazon is great for those kind of like lifting your computer up and elevating your ergonometry, getting another keyboard or a mouse. Those are pretty readily available on there. So it doesn't need to be too complicated. It just depends on what resonates with you. And I would say we're like, as designers, I need to buy something that I love. So sometimes you might have a list of the things that you need, but also think about like what kind of puts a smile on your face, what you really like when you're purchasing it. If that's some certain color tones that go in, make a little bit more of an effort when you're going out to get these things, and you're going to really appreciate them in your space.
That's a good point. Spend the money on your assets that make you happy. And then the other stuff too is like, think about even the Facebook groups, the buy and sell. There's lots of options there, and it's garage sale season as well. So every weekend I see a bunch of garage sales, and it's some stuff in there are gems that you, like you said, you could just spray paint, and it's and you really make it your own. So okay, so we'll go for one more question.
Cool frames that you can get.
Yeah, even old windows. I like to as wall art. It's just there's so many things. I could talk about it for days. So
that'd be a good space divider. Like the windows would be a good space divider.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Can I just work for you guys on the weekends? That would be. So then the other question is, this is a common issue, is basement apartments, right? There's less light. Sometimes, when I remember I was living in a basement apartment, it's hard to really feel like, you're connected to the outside world. I noticed in one of your posts, you talked about, I think it was in your own condo, the light that you had on your desk. Is there lighting that we can suggest to them or tips?
Lighting tips for a basement. I hope that you can hear me because the internet is cutting out a little bit. So Joe might have to step in for this one. But lighting tips is, soft lighting really helps. So when you have, for me, I have a lot of natural lighting and I have a flush mount in my office, which work great. But if you are in a basement and you, depending on like the quality of your recessed light, if they glare, then you want to create diffused light so it's not so like harsh and direct. So you can have a task light on your desk, which is great for like the direct light of looking at paperwork, but it becomes straining on your eyes if that's your only light source. So you want to get something like even like a round globe that has like frosted glass, it's going to diffuse light. Let's say a table lamp or like a floor lamp that has like a linen shade or some sort of fabric shade is also going to diffuse light versus the direct light. The direct light is great for when you desk, but you need other light sources throughout a room to like relax your eyes. It's also why people, when they get TVs, they'll put like an LED strip behind it because it's softer on your eyes if there's like another light source that's kind of like diffused behind it, that you're not just staring in at one kind of like strong light source coming out at you.
And one thing I'll say for like your desk lamp, a good thing to do, to like invest in is an adjustable one. So you'll want one that you can like move the head on so that you can adjust it whether you're writing or on your computer or doing whatever. And then also if you have a sit stand desk, you might need to adjust at that point too. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Okay. And this is actually the final question because I love it. What do you guys think about the desk, but it's the treadmill desk?
Honestly, I've never used one before, but I think that is really cool. I can't read when I'm on a treadmill, so I know that some people can. I think it just depends on like your function and ability working that way. I mean, for phone calls or like watching a class, I think that would be great because you're getting some body movement in, you're able to like focus because you're on this continuous pace, almost in like a meditative state of walking. But I think that you'd probably need other functional spaces to maybe be able to like, read documents or that. So it is nice, like what you were talking about before, you're working at your dining table and you're moving throughout your space. It is nice to get up and move and work in a different environment. So having, a lounge chair where you're able to sit, or I've even seen those ones if you don't want to invest in a treadmill desk or a sit stand where kids are using them in school and they're kind of like a bicycle underneath your feet. You put it's basically on the ground and you pedal so that you can move, because a lot of people, they need to move, right? So, yeah.
Very cool. So many things now.
Yeah.
It should just be standard. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, I can't thank you both enough, Sasha and Jose. Thank you very, very much. I think just even reading the comments, like the nice dialogue in the chat amongst the students where you really gave them some perspective of like how they can transform their homes and where to go. And we will be posting the blog and their website. So if you want to go more into depth of like what you can do, you can go to those resources. And thank you again. We really appreciate it. You had awesome ideas, and I think it's going to set them to the right start of their academic journey.
Being proud of your space is huge for your mental health. So it is an investment of time, but we strongly believe as designers, of course, that it really does pay off. So I hope that I'm glad this was inspiring, and I wish you all beautiful, functional spaces for your year ahead.
Awesome. And thanks so much, guys. So if you want to tune into more workshops, please go to the website. Easy will post it. It's the orientation website. And again, we will post this recording sometimes next week if you want to catch up on different tips. Thanks again, Sasha and Jose, and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Good luck.
Bye, guys.